It is the Wednesday edition of WWT Live, and there's so much to talk about, including this. The name on the contract is McMahon. What exactly do I mean by that? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. This is WWT Live.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Zero.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Happy Wednesday, good people, and welcome to another edition of WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. I am your professor. They call me Gerard, GB, Teflon G, or whatever it is you feel like calling me today. We've got a lot to talk about, an awful lot to get into. There are things that we never, ever thought we would see happen has happened in the last 48 hours. It's happened in multiple spaces. We'll get into all of that. But of course, I am not alone like the great Michael Jackson. These wonderful people are here with me. We'll start off with my NXT tag team partner. If you guys were with us a little bit earlier today, the mayor is back. This is a double dose of the mayor. We don't get this every day. So revel and relish this, folks. Seth is in the building in a brand new background. How are you, sir? You are muted. Oh, my Lord. Still muted. Go figure. I don't know who has done this to him and caused him to be muted in the way that he is.
I was muted double. Wow.
That's
I was
crazy.
muted twice. That's crazy. You can hear me now?
Crazy. I can hear you now. Yes.
So what I was trying to say is I apologize that you guys are getting my presence 2 hours in a row.
Why would you apologize?
This does not happen because now I have an energy drink and I'll probably have some more words from Mr. Michael here.
Oh, boy.
Unrelated to this hour of programming at all. But
oh, my goodness. Well, we'll see how we get into that. Now, certainly the sugar and spice of all things WWT is joining us. Honey is here. How are you, honey?
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. What is up, y'all? And we call him Sean over here, I might add, Mr.
Well done.
Mayor.
Well done. All of these unique connections, Sean.
and Michael, I'm going to call him Michael.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you this. Our next guest is far more welcome here than Donald Trump at an NABJ convention. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Councilman Farrell. How are you, sir?
Hello, Cedric. How are you today on this Wednesday?
This is crazy.
Oh, boy.
Hello there.
Boy.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
he came not the hello, Sydney, you know?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, what a wonderful Wednesday we're having, aren't we?
Indeed. Indeed.
Oh, boy.
Pop
boy.
Rock City is popping right now.
Oh, man. The
We
Perez.
We will get into that for sure. Shout out to you, cousin Ron. Jeffrey, good to see you. Jeffrey says this is a record on how many times Seth has been on. How about that? That's wild. So let's get into the story that has the IWC talking. It started with a picture that I'm not sure was supposed to be released, but somehow was. That picture consisted of these two gentlemen, Tony Khan, who, of course, is the owner of AEW, and one Shane McMahon, who at one time was the owner of WCW. These two apparently were in the same room. I don't know if the photo was supposed to be captured, but it was. A lot of people have been speculating in terms of what this meeting was about. Apparently, this talk of Shane McMahon going to AEW started sometime last month. But these conversations have apparently happened. Now, this picture is alleged to have been taking place this past Monday in an office in Arlington, Texas. And of course, if you're paying attention to what AEW is doing, their Collision shows and their Ring of Honor shows all summer are running out of Arlington. the eSports Stadium specifically, which played host to the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view Friday night and Collision this past Saturday night. So, according to Fightful, these two met about the possibilities of moving forward, and there's talk that AEW is, quote, very open to using Shane on their shows. There's equal talk that there are no longer any contractual ties between Shane McMahon and the WWE. That is a statement in and of itself. So let's get into this. What do we think is really going on here involving Tony Khan and Shane McMahon? And do we actually think we'll see Shane McMahon show up on AEW television? Honey, we will start with you.
Man, listen. You want to talk about things that were not on your bingo card for 2024? Things have already happened that we never thought we'd see this year. And if this is to be true, we are looking at another one of those moments, ladies and gentlemen. It is like I'm not even sure what to make of it or what to expect. If it's Photoshop, there's lots of different speculations, and it's hard to even fathom that this could be a thing. Even Mercedes Moné had apparently Mercedes Moné had apparently tweeted that she took the picture as like in a joking manner. I'm seeing like that post running around here and everything like that. So it's just like, are they playing with us or is this happening? And if it is happening, then we're definitely going to see Shane McMahon in some way, shape, or form on AEW television. That's just a McMahon and a Khan together, and it's just to see what they could possibly come up with. Maybe Tony Khan's hiring him for some, to create some order going on. Maybe a general manager, things like that. Just kind of taking a dose of the formula on how to maybe recreate some better structure with the storylines and the matches and all the things that they got going on. Being that it has been wishy-washy over time, but unbelievable. Unbelievable. Crazy.
Well, it's certainly not the first time that a McMahon and a Khan have worked together, but this version of McMahon and Khan obviously is different for a ton of reasons. Said, what kind of working relationship do you think can happen between Tony Khan and Shane McMahon?
I just look at it like it's a business consultant. I don't think I think the roots for what was built by the McMahon family in WWE run too deep. I like to believe there's some sense of loyalty to creating that brand. So I feel like just having a business consultant like you would have for a professional sports team, like in basketball, you have a consultant to your business operations. You bounce questions off of them and kind of see like how you can kind of level up or do certain things, add that structure and order. Will Shane McMahon appear? I mean, it's kind of low-hanging fruit if he were to. I don't think it would spike ratings or anything like that. I don't think it would help. I hope, God forbid, he gets into a ring again. I hope his quads are healthy. I would hope for Shane that he would just be lending some business advice to the fake TK and just enjoying some college football for his son this upcoming season. I would hope that is the extent of everything.
So, Councilman, let me ask you this. What potential role do you think Shane McMahon... Well, let me ask this question. What role would be most beneficial for Shane McMahon in AEW?
Oh, that's a good question. On the more beneficial side, maybe helping when it comes to the brand and extending the name out to different people. I don't necessarily think maybe from a talent standpoint, but maybe more from the corporate side of AEW might be a better role for him. I don't necessarily see him being involved in creative or a talent aspect. I think just more of what to do when it comes to the wrestling business and expanding AEW onto a bigger field that they may be looking for. But one thing also too that is kind of going in my mind of this may just be a misdirection because he also could be talking to him about stuff with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we
That's
also have that.
possible too.
So we also have that possibility. This may be in going around football, especially with Cedric just saying like his son being in college football. Like maybe there's some moves trying to be there of being like a potential co-owner or a stake in the Jaguar. So we don't really know just which way they would go, but I would say more of a corporate standpoint than a creative hands-on with the wrestlers.
You know, you raise an interesting point about him potentially talking about football. This could totally be a non-wrestling related conversation. It totally could. Personally, I think there are roles that Shane McMahon could play. I'm not sure if I'm convinced of how much influence and control Tony Khan would give a McMahon. You know, this is almost akin to when Vince McMahon hired Eric Bischoff, in the sense of the hiring itself was wild, but we all knew there was no way that Eric Bischoff was getting the true keys to the kingdom. And I'm pretty sure Shane would not get the keys to the kingdom, whether those keys are creative keys or those keys are, you know, something at a high level business space. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. You know, if you remember kind of the last few stints that Shane McMahon had with pro wrestling, you know, there was that Royal Rumble that happened a couple of years ago that it is believed that he booked that a lot of people did not like, and ultimately led to his departure from WWE. Would he want to work against the company that his family built and the company that his brother-in-law is heavily involved in? That would make interesting conversation at the Thanksgiving dinner table. I don't know. Time will certainly tell, and we'll see what happens with this potential moment involving Shane McMahon and Tony Khan. I still wonder who on earth released the photo. That's what I want to know, because when you take photos like this and they are just randomly released, feels kind of weird. That's just me. Feels weird, but go figure. In the realm of things you did not expect to see happen, this guy, Jesse the Body Ventura, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, known as one of the most popular color commentators in all of pro wrestling, made his way back to WWE. And most didn't expect this to happen. WWE, of course, was in Minnesota, the state where he once served as governor. They were there Monday night for Raw. And Jesse the Body Ventura returned to Monday Night Raw, was greeted by Triple H, had even a moment with CM Punk. What do you think this could mean for the future, if anything, for Jesse the Body Ventura being back with the WWE? Councilman, we'll start with you.
It wasn't a big shock for me now that, you know, seeing CM Punk return, but I think this just goes to something I think we discussed a while back with now this being a Triple H era of fixing some of those burnt bridges that the company has with a lot of these legends and a lot of these veterans in the game. So I don't know, for some reason this just reminds me of kind of like, you know, those football stars that have retired, and, you know, not to say he hasn't been doing well for himself, but it's like you still want to see these stars in some kind of way be put back into the sport. And so to see Jesse be home and to see him now being welcomed with open arms, I don't know exactly what it will do, where they'll have him, but I think it really is great to just see like a legend like this to be put back into the company.
Honey, your thoughts on the return of Jesse the Body Ventura?
I mean, this is great. This is just great. As Councilman said, like, it's, you know, fixing some of those damaged and burnt bridges and the relationships from previous era, and Triple H is doing a pretty good job at that, especially with this photo right here. Did you ever think you'd see Jesse the Body Ventura and CM Punk in 2024 just shaking hands, you know, and just greeting each other? He even went on to say that, you know, why did he come back for moments like these? Like this right here in itself is a moment without even being anything on TV or acted out in any way. That's just pure, you know, respect, and, you know, a Hall of Fame legend and a future legend in CM Punk as well. And both of them, I'm sure, are in much different headspaces mentally with the WWE, and it's great to see the relationships being rekindled and redeveloped in a better way.
Seth, let me ask you this. Does Jesse Ventura need to return to WWE in any sort of backstage capacity, advisory capacity, or is it just good that he was able to show up in moments like this?
I think it was just good that he was able to show up. I'm not sure what else can really be added, as WWE is literally in its golden age right now. But if he was to come back and try to maybe mentor some of the younger superstars, be able to have people pick his brain, I think that's where his kind of allegiance can be. So it's good to see that the company is continue building more bridges for past superstars, past companies, things of that nature. Correct me, Jesse's already in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yes,
Correct.
he is.
Yeah.
He is.
Okay. So like I said, just building more bridges. So just having him in presence and having people see him who probably grew up on him and in ring or commentary. That's probably the most monumental thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking of commentary, the chat is being greatly reminded of his commentary prowess. Of course, he was in the 80s with Gorilla Monsoon, Vince McMahon. In the 90s, he made his way over to WCW and spent some time there as well. And many may not remember he was a wrestler before all of that, spent some time in the AWA and even some time in the WWE. Chico Santana, that's funny, when he was talking about Tito Santana. I remember that, and favorite liners from him. So yeah, shout out. It was a great moment. Yes.
So I've heard also too, like Pat McAfee might be having to take some time off with his new contract that he has with ESPN. What is the possibility of y'all seeing him potentially coming back to the commentary table, maybe on Monday Night Raw with a Michael Cole, or is that kind of a stretch in this time and era?
I'm just looking at his age, and I don't know if he'd be willing to do that level of travel. If it's like a one-off, like not even a PLE, I'm thinking like kickoff shows, maybe something like that.
Okay, yeah, I see that more.
Yeah.
I definitely see that more.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I think that would be a good move for him. And plus, I wonder, they don't have. I think they're really more building legacy than pulling on legacy. So I think a one-off would probably be a cool way to have Jesse the Body Ventura involved. So.
You know what else?
Cool.
He might have some. They're still doing the show. He might actually have some hidden treasures out there. He can probably appear on that program as well.
True.
Yeah. That's kind of the cool thing about all things WWE is there are multiple outlets for him to show up on that would still have great merit and value. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. But it's great to have Jesse Ventura back in the fold. So let's talk a little bit about NXT. We did just finish our pre-show, of course. Last night, Joe Hendry had his first NXT concert, but the news coming out about Joe Hendry is pretty incredible, actually, as it is now being reported that Joe Hendry is doing something that no other wrestler has been able to do. He was involved in an interview with Matt Camp, who used to be a part of WWE, on a program called The Matt, where he has revealed an unprecedented deal, where he is now able to train at the WWE Performance Center. And he's worked out a deal, he said, with TNA and WWE. And he says that TNA has worked it out where he can appear on TNA as a contracted talent. He can appear on NXT. He can train at the Performance Center full time and do indies and do signings. This has never been done before, but it's being done for Joe Hendry. What do you think about this kind of deal with Joe Hendry now basically kind of being that guy in TNA, NXT, training at the Performance Center, indies? What do you make of all this, honey?
I think it's absolutely amazing. I mean, being that it's something we've never seen done before. I mean, I I never would have predicted this kind of impact from Joe Hendry, especially going into the way he went with, especially with this gimmick. I just can't believe how well it's caught on, and it's literally everywhere. And honestly, I've said it a couple of times here on the show before. I believe. I'm a believer. He's totally made a believer out of me, and everybody else is eating it up as well. It just works really well. It's a crowd favorite. And you can't really top it. And then for him to be able to do all of these things, to go to signings and train full time, like that's unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. But it just goes to show how well and flexible the Hall of Famer that is Shawn Michaels, we call him over here, and how well he's developed with this relationship with Joe Hendry. He's talked about in the interview, he praised Shawn Michaels' mentorship, and he said it's been absolutely great working under him. And you could believe that because you could see Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels has a history of doing it even when they've had like the sit down talks with like Undertaker and Triple H and stuff like that, where he dissects a match so well. It's one of the many reasons why he's been able to put on such great matches in many different moments and many different highlights, and why he is exactly who he is today and in the position that he's in. So I think this is an amazing thing for Joe Hendry. I think this is also an amazing thing for TNA and WWE as well, just strengthening that partnership. And literally Joe Hendry is the glue, and I'm here for it.
Well said. What are your thoughts on this historic deal and partnership for Joe Hendry?
I'm kind of jealous. This is the equivalent of me having the keys to the LA Rams practice facility and just being able to go in and out. Because that ain't LA Fitness, that ain't 24. That is literally having the keys to the greatest wrestling factory in this nation and being able to get better. So that just shows me that there is a serious investment in who is Joe Hendry, and him not only getting better by learning the WWE way, but getting better by appearance, physically, nutrition, everything. They are invested in that man. So that means they saw him from afar and said, hey, not only do we want you to show up here, but we want to make sure that we are building you the right way so we can get you to get to your peak, whatever that is. They want to see that potential really reach its new heights based on what he's shown so far. I think it's really cool. I hope it's not I hope this is just the first of many, that you start seeing this happen more and more for maybe somebody off the indies, or maybe somebody who was a former pro football athlete, whoever. I think it's really cool that they're building those bridges. And if they get that, we know they're trying to build the relationships in Asia and in Japan. Imagine some of those wrestlers having that same type of notoriety whenever they're in the States. That's how big this is.
Yeah, it's a massive moment. Councilman, let me get your thoughts. How long, and it's interesting, Boza makes an interesting point. He says it's a matter of not if, but when Joe Hendry becomes a WWE superstar. Here's the question. With this kind of a deal in play, does Joe Hendry need to leave TNA to become a WWE superstar if he already seemingly has all of the amenities?
I don't think so. I don't think that he needs to. And even to Cedric's point, I think they're using Joe Hendry as a potential blueprint for who they're going to start doing this for later on. I think also to another episode we have of them allowing them to keep their trademarks and names. I think that was the first step into moving into what we're now seeing with Joe Hendry. I think they're really trying to show how they can build with another company, allowing them to keep what they need to go do, giving them the amenities to have what they need. I think the way they may limit it is just they may not allow him to appear on other platforms without the belt. But that's still kind of me with pre-Vince era. But I think even with Triple H may not mind. Like, let's say Joe Hendry is NXT champion, and they want him in Japan for a couple of matches. And now your NXT champion is there. Not only that, but sign the TNA and sign, with a contract with WWE. And it just gives to all these other wrestlers out there to go, okay, you know what? Yeah, I don't have to leave where I'm going, but I also can be a part of this, also learn how to get better. I think they're setting them up for like a great package of unifying a lot of the wrestling industry to give us the matches that we want to see without having to fully put someone in a 2-year or 3-year, 5-year contract and may get lost in the shuffle. They can still be allowed to, like, okay, if I'm not getting no TV time really in WWE, it didn't work like the way we were looking, I can still go back to where I was and I don't have to worry about losing face anywhere.
You know what I just thought about? And I just checked to verify. I wonder how much money that they're making off Joe Hendry and his appearances, the social media output that he has and draws in. I just checked, and there's none right now. But it's going to be real when they have Joe Hendry merchandise.
Mm-hmm. And the sponsorship deals they can make with Joe Hendry, like the cricket commercials, Sprite, all kind of things that they can start to compete off of that to not only go on WWE but with TNA too.
Yeah, we're getting into unprecedented territory, and I think this is a special time to be alive because I don't know that any of us ever thought we would see a day. You know, we always thought, for instance, when two organizations work together, it would be in a versus scenario. But now we're seeing where TNA is really getting the best of both worlds, where Joe Hendry gets access to all of the WWE amenities while still getting to do TNA. His star rises and it elevates everybody, you know? So this gets to be, I think, very, very interesting as we look at this pretty unique scenario involving Joe Hendry, which I think is nuts. So since we're talking about people from TNA making these kinds of moves, let's talk about what we learned last night. We learned that MSK will now be getting a tag team title match against Axiom and Nathan Frazer next week on night 2 of the Great American Bash. And this could prove to be the first time in pro wrestling history that a TNA contracted star holds an NXT or WWE championship if MSK wins this match. Honey, let me start with you. Does MSK become the new tag team champions next week?
I honestly, oh God, it's so tempting to say yes, but one thing I know that's going to be a guarantee for this match is going to cook. It's going to be insane. And knowing how much Sean loves to do those fast-paced style matches, because that was his style back then too. Oh my God, this match is going to be insane. And it's going to be so good. It is so tempting to say yes to MSK. And you know, they're really hot right now, especially with the reuniting of the Rascals and being able to go to both territories and, you know, changing the game a bit. There's still something going on with Axiom and Frazer that I don't think we're seeing. They're trying to make it seem like, I guess maybe they're trying to show us that, you know, possibly there could be a separation, or, you know, Axiom's giving Frazer a little dose of his own medicine from when he tried to get the opportunity for the World Cup championship and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that Axiom and Frazer are going to pull through and take it. But it's going to lead to something different later on. I feel like there's something later on down the road that's really going to absolutely destroy these two and take the titles off them. But I'm tempted to say MSK, but I can't.
Okay. Said, what are you thinking here?
100% MSK. People forget that MSK was well on, before all that stuff happened with Zachary Wentz, they were well on their way to being the best tag team in NXT history. Well on their way. I think this would make them, what, a 3-time if they were to win it? So
that's right.
I'm already looking past Fraxium with them winning. By the way, Axiom dropped in the speed tournament to Joaquin Wilde earlier today. But I'm already looking past, because Zach said something very intriguing, and we talk about this TNA partnership. He said the ability to put MSK back on the map and defend those titles across 2 different companies. How monumental is that to have the tag team titles go between TNA as well as NXT? And then you just get the appearances, you get the treehouse segments. I think this is the perfect spot for them to be, because really MSK was never supposed to break up in the first place.
Right.
So when you think about it, I'm already looking to dream matches against tag teams like DIY, if we can get that on a later PLE with MSK. I think they are going to strike lightning here. They've been teasing the dissension of Nathan Frazier and Axiom for a while, and I think we're well past it. They proved that they're a good tag team, but they also have singles aspirations. So like, why not lose to one of the greatest tag teams in NXT history?
So we're kind of split so far. Councilman, who do you think is walking out of the Great American Bash next week as the NXT Tag Team Champions?
I think Fraxium is gonna hold it. I'm just being honest. This
Fraxium.
Funny.
This is just me being biased. I don't want Wes winning this. Bro, go for the NXT championship. Stop playing around. Stop. You didn't need to go for the North American Championship again. Now you're going to the tag. Then what happens to Trey Miguel? Let them two win. You win the NXT championship and let the Rascals be the most dominated 3-person faction in NXT. That's what I want to see. I want to see more from Wesley, not just him holding a tag title until they figure out the rest of the Ethan Page story and what's moving. So I don't know. I just don't want it to happen, and I don't think Nathan Frazier and Axiom are at the tipping point yet for it to cause them to split just yet. I think we need like one more title defense, especially after them defeating the OC. I think you need like one more just to be able to go, okay, now it's time for the split. But I want to see Wesley as NXT champion or nothing else, or just give me some fire matches. But making him a tag title holder for a third time, it just doesn't hit me as much.
There's no other 3-time champs. I don't think there is. Right?
Let's see.
Boza fact check me, because I don't think there's anybody else that's 3-time.
You might be right.
I thought Undisputed Era won it 3 times. Yeah, I thought they won it 3 times. An interesting tweet though from Jade Chung, who is the ring announcer over at TNA, and her tweet was, "Bring those NXT tag titles home, boys. I can't wait to proudly announce y'all as champs." So there are TNA folks very vested in this match that will happen next week as well. I actually think there's the strong possibility that MSK takes the tag titles. I think we see it happen. Particularly,
you got to right the wrongs. Right the wrongs of Jordan Grace losing to Roxanne Perez.
We've got those wrongs to right. We've got to right the wrongs of breaking them up as a tag team in the first place. And then there's the whole thing of this being right after SummerSlam. There's a lot of WWE momentum happening this Tuesday. So I think we haven't had a title change yet in this Great American Bash. Night one saw no title changes. This would be the right move that would get all the people talking.
And it was the Undisputed Era with 3 reigns. They have the most reigns in NXT tag team history.
Yes.
The Revival has 2, Imperium has 2, MSK has 2 already. And then Tony D and Channing Stacks Lorenzo, pretty deadly. The rest, those are 2. And then the rest is a 1.
Yeah.
The D'Angelo family has 2.
Yeah,
they're like John Cena. I really can't see them. So,
yeah.
With that said,
it's no shade. I feel you on that. It's no shade.
All right, but yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's kind of like y'all there.
Can't see them. But let's talk about this match that happened last night. Roxanne Perez and Thea Hale. A lot of people on this good internet are talking about this match and how this match really stole the show. Yes, it was the main event. I'm not sure that people thought it was going to cook the way that it did, but it absolutely did. So I see lots of smiles happening. Honey, let's start with you. What did you think of this match here? And what does this say about the future for both Thea Hale and the NXT women's division?
Listen, I know that Pop Rock City has been running amok, They was out, the goons was out late last night celebrating. The Pereziacs were in tune and dancing and just singing in the streets and claiming for their queen Roxanne to deliver another victory to town, which was phenomenal. Great freaking match though by both of these girls, man. And to think that these two aren't even in their prime yet. Thea Hale being 20 and Roxanne being 23, like it's absolutely amazing to see the growth continue with the two of them. Thea Hale put on a great showing. I will possibly start dubbing a justice for Thea Hale, because she has been on. I feel like she's been on this side of the fence because on numerous occasions. But I'm not saying today. I'm celebrating today for Miss Roxanne Perez. But Thea Hale, some justice needs to be done in the future because this is like I would say the second time. This also happened with Tiffany Stratton as well, where she had that opportunity and it didn't hold up. She didn't hold up her end of the bargain and win the match. But great match by both of these women. Shout outs to Roxanne though, and all the Pereziacs.
I don't know where to go first. Said we'll come to you first. Your thoughts on this match and what this means for the future of the women's division.
I mean, we talked about this earlier in NXT post show. It was a great match. I think it showcased a lot of what we know about the Thea Hale character, is that she's always this close. Just to reiterate what I mean by that is that she's kind of in a bridesmaid but never the bride position. So whenever she hits the big one, I'm trying to think. Do you guys remember when Rhea Ripley finally won the big one in NXT and how everybody
mosh pitting?
Just ran to the ring and celebrated her. I think she's going to have one of those type of moments, especially if she's still tied to Chase U this time a year from now. It's going to be that monumental. So they're still building it up slowly because she's so young and she'll be in NXT for a while. But it also just showcases that I told Professor earlier that I think that Roxanne is in the era, and I hate that I'm about to give her this type of praise, but she's in her Becky Lynch era of elevating those around her and putting on these matches to let you know that, hey, our women's division is very, very strong, and showcasing that any of them can be at the top of the mountain at any time. And she's pretty much doing a solid to those that watch the NXT brand, and it will be in good hands once she finally gets called up. But I will end with this. Since you guys playing with me, I am going to be unbearable when she drops that title. Unbearable.
Can I just hear you say, what was that? Who was the horseman you named? She's in her what era? I'm sorry. Which horseman was this? Becky, you said? I believe I heard Becky Lynch. I believe that's what he said.
I only said that name because she just did her thing where she was putting on matches with everybody else. Baby's doing the same thing right now, but it's not going there.
I'm gonna put my shades back on. I'm putting back on.
Very interesting names that you said there, sir. Very interesting names. So, Councilman, would you like to say anything about the future of the division and the match we saw last night?
You got to give it some time because I'm just so flustered by Cedric's words.
Oh boy.
When you get the recognition that you deserve, and you hear from your mayor, and to say that you are the best horsewoman and related to her, because we know Lola is Monet right now. She's that fourth one. She's got
wow. Wow.
Oh my God. He went there.
Sometimes it's just good to know that when you know. All right.
Wow.
Because this match was just adorable. Watching it the whole way through, it was just adorable. Watching Thea Hale try to climb that mountain. And a lot of people was like, she almost had her. I won't agree with that. She's like a gas tank. She was halfway full. And it stopped right there. The credit card said, no, we don't have nothing else in it. And, the Pereziak champion remained where she's supposed to be.
Stop it. The Councilman is unhinged.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, man.
Oh my
This is
gosh.
and just to what Roxanne said, the best women's division is in NXT right now. There's no doubt about that. There's no arguments about that. And who is at the top? It's not Lola. We know it's not her. We saw that this Tuesday. From title matches to 6 women tag matches and a story that don't even involve her and to take the L. But it's good to know that you recognize her on what was happening. And there's only one person to blame, and that is yourself, Mayor. That is yourself. You did all of this. That L is on you, sir. Because here I was getting the Perezi ass, getting my client ready for her match, and then one of the many constituents here, Dylan Matthews, let me know you was out here putting that punk ass picture up again Monday and talking crap about my client. And that's what you get. That's what you get. You put the bad juju on your client, and now Vice is in shambles. You picked the wrong tag team partner, Professor. I'm letting you know that now. You go Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty up in here, and you going to super kick that man through the barbershop window in Vice City. Because it is Shawn Michaels, sir. You gonna stop disrespecting that man's name.
Wow.
I just want to point out that Lola did not take the pin in that 6-woman tag. It was Maple Leaf Xia Li. Somebody she has no business being teamed with. She just had a feud with just a month or two ago. And that's the problem with Michael. That's the problem with Michael.
Oh,
you need to leave that woman alone. We are not bothering that woman. You need to leave her alone.
So there's a lot of talk right now in the chat. And I want to go ahead and kind of rip the Band-Aid off and ask the question. Lots of talk in the chat about this woman, Julia, who today officially announced that her last match in Japan will be with Marigold on August the 19th for their Summer Gold Shine Tour. That'll be at the famed Korakuen Hall in Tokyo. And then after that, she's looking to head to the WWE, and it could get very, very interesting. So some are saying that based on the schedule she's laid out, she might be free to show up on September the 1st for NXT's No Mercy PLE in Denver. So the question now is, and it's been said in the chat a few times, that perhaps this is a placeholder. In other words, they're just kind of keeping things warm for a potential match involving Julia and Roxanne Perez. So, Mayor, I'll give you the opportunity to speak on this first. Do you think Julia comes in and is the person to take the title off of Roxanne? Is it Stephanie Vacour, who is also due to come in? Is it Delta, who is due to come in? Or will none of those three be in NXT long enough to become champion? What do you think?
If I had to pick from those three, I would pick Stephanie. I think Stephanie was heavily featured right off the gate. And if you tie in the fact that she appeared on AEW television, she might be more known to the casual fans as well. So I think that would be a better pick if they were looking to dethrone. But to go a step further, I think that these three help elevate the entire women's division without the titles needing to be involved. So I think they will all have short stints. I don't think either of the three really will be the one to take the belt off Roxanne. I think Roxanne needs exactly what Tiffany needed, and that's somebody to come down and take the belt off of her. Somebody that's just inevitably a bigger star that will take the belt off of her and almost force her hand to go into the main roster. So similar to what Becky did to Tiffany, I think that's what ultimately will need to happen. And if I had to pick, I think it's time to make Bianca Triple Crown if they were going to do it. I think that would be amazing if they could do that, because that keeps Bianca further away from either main roster Raw or SmackDown title, at least for the time being. But I think the three just help elevate the division and continue to get this NIL pipeline to work and experience. But I don't think really either of the three are going to take the belt off Rox.
Same question for you, honey. Does Julia, Stephanie Vicor, Delta, are either of them going to be the ones to become the NXT champion, or will they have a short stint in NXT?
I mean, we've been talking about Julia for quite some time. And you know, Stephanie Vicker has been the talk of the town for the last month, well, even longer than that, but mostly, especially with her move to WWE and so vastly. It'd be really hard for me to pick, but I think I might have to say these are going to be short stints, and these are going to be moments that are going to be created, big moments. You know, same way how Jordan Grace came in, it was so impactful, it was such a talked about moment. Still, probably one of the dopest moments of in NXT this year, and I think these are all going to be challenges that Roxanne's going to have to overcome. We need like a final boss in NXT, and for me, I'm kind of not getting those final boss vibes from these girls. I would have thought the final boss was Jordan Grace. I would have thought, but we're here now, so I'm gonna have to stick with Roxy and holding on to that title some more.
Councilman, does Roxanne, here's a question for you. In light of Julia, in light of Delta, in light of Stephanie Vicor, and whoever else might be out there that could potentially make their way to NXT, do either of them take the title from Roxanne, or does Roxanne go on a quest to potentially become the longest reigning NXT women's champion of all time?
I mean, you said it yourself right there. But that's the next step. The longest reigning NXT Women's World Champion, because she's now a Women's World Champion. It was said when she faced Jordan Grace. Okay. The best story is what Cedric said. Bianca beats her, becomes Triple Crown, and Roxanne goes up. Because as much as I love these new signees, with the way the women's division is elevating there and the way they're moving everyone up, this is not a shot at them, but they don't have the full package of what they would need to be the women's champion for the company. In-ring performance, yes. To the fans, yes. To the back end part, production, moving companies around, being able to be at these places, being able to speak at events. They still need that training. They still need the television training that they're going to need to see. And I don't think with them getting ready to move to the CW, I don't think that's the move that they're going to look to want to make and not be able to push the brand with the champions that they need to be at these different events. Now, I will say to that, unless it's a Cora Jade, or even as much as I make fun of it, I could see a Lola Vice again getting her revenge and then taking that championship way before I see these three becoming a champion from Roxanne. And then just like to Honey's point and your point, a very short stint until they go to the main roster. But I definitely see it being the best outcome. Longest reigning NXT Women's World Champion, and then having having someone like a Bianca Belair either take it from her, or like I said, I would be fine if Cora Jade or Lola Vice was to take it from her. I have no problems with that happening.
All right.
We need to sage this podcast. We need to sage this podcast because we are not speaking Roxanne passing Asuka's record. We are not speaking that to existence. This woman was never supposed to be champion in the first place. If Mandy Rose was not here doing dirty business, she would have never been champion this early. We are saging this podcast. Nope. Absolutely not.
What? Wow.
We are not speaking that into this universe. No.
So we have a few comments here. Boza says, is Councilman, all jokes aside, saying that Roxanne is a safe champion for them because she is a known commodity? I don't know that that's what he's saying. I think he is saying, and well, let me let you say what you're saying. I have my own interpretation.
No. I felt like you was going to go somewhere. Go ahead, because I felt the soapbox getting ready to come out.
Well, no, what I think he's saying is Roxanne understands the WWE way. And when I say the WWE way, what I don't think people understand when it comes to WWE versus other wrestling companies is other wrestling companies primarily focus on what's happening in ring. Very few of them do any sort of camera training, production training, anything like that. When you come to the WWE, you come to be a representative in a mainstream space. So if you'll look, it's been very difficult for any WWE superstar, male or female, who doesn't have a strong command of the English language, for instance. So if English is
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I think the Wyatts got him.
is that me? Is that
No.
No, he's
oh,
We all-
okay.
Okay.
Did we upset somebody? I don't know.
no.
Wyatts must be here again.
I was gonna say Professor Frozen.
Yeah, no, we all were. That was wild.
That's
But
It's happening
no.
again.
Oh no.
Oh no.
See what happens when y'all speak this negativity on the podcast, elevating Roxanne to these heights that she does not deserve. Like, we got to keep saging.
Not just that she does not deserve.
This is insane. Get the sage everywhere. Look what y'all did, the professor. Look what y'all did.
I won't even dignify that with a remark. I won't even dignify that.
Look what you
We saw what she's all about this past Tuesday.
We're gonna continue for a
What I
while.
think the professor was trying to say is that not just the WWE, but the English language being a focal point, that you really wouldn't be able to elevate those people as far as the staying power after the dethroning of the current champion. Which I can see that. And that's why I think it speaks more volume that they would have to elevate somebody really quickly to that scene. And I think they're getting there, especially with Thea Hale kind of getting her runner-ups just this close every single time. I think you'll see other matches against people like Sol Ruka. Maybe you'll do a champion versus champion with Kalani just to keep making the division move forward. But ultimately, I still agree with it's going to have to be somebody coming down, just somebody that's bigger than the NXT brand that's like, hey, I'm here to put Roxanne in her place. And then ultimately taking the belt off of her. I just don't know in this era who that could be that would make sense.
That's what I mean. Like it would have it needs a final boss moment.
Yeah.
And I know it's still too soon to tell, and there's no word obviously about her being medically cleared anytime soon. But when she does, I think that would be a great moment if Asuka showed up.
Ooh.
Just to give that push for Roxanne and putting her over literally, possibly.
Also, too, I think what we also forgetting is, speaking of the Oscar, she could pull a Oscar, beat Oscar, become the longest reigning NXT Women's Champion, and step down. I wouldn't want. I'm still sitting on the Cora Jade or Lola Vice train, because I will say, to Cedric's point with this, Thea Hale got taken out with one pop rock. Lola took 5, and I feel like after that match with Thea Hale,
still trying to remind me, damn pop rock.
You already know the compliment is gonna come with a backhand, but it made me go, okay, there's something still there with the whole Lola and Roxanne thing, because she had to do so much to pin her to where you can recycle that back.
Yeah, you could. Funny. You could.
But yeah, like
what is happening right
You good,
now?
Professor?
I'm just trying to see what's happening right now. Somebody's moving this.
Oh, I was.
Oh, okay. I'm like, who's moving that? Okay.
I was, because it was on the Shane TK.
Yeah, I was moving it off and trying to get it to the right one. So now I'm like, okay, who's doing this? But wonderful. Yeah,
wonderful. I was just saying also before, Professor, before you froze, that how crazy would it be if there's remember I was saying we need like the final boss or somebody to come down, like a Bianca Belair, or what if, and I know there's no and she's not going to be medically cleared anytime soon. But I'm just saying, how crazy would it be if Asuka did show up to NXT, kind of like the way Becky Lynch did with Lyra Valkyria, and create that moment for Roxanne? That's pretty crazy. Before she could even beat her streak, even, you know.
I definitely think there's and the good thing is we've got a little while before we get there. So it certainly gives Asuka time to heal up and do all of the things that she needs to do. The point I was trying to make before my internet went crazy is, you know, the WWE way involves more than just wrestling and wrestling great. It involves a command of communication, an ability to connect with your fans. And often when there is a language barrier, whatever the language may be, that can be challenging. I think that's unfortunately why Shinsuke Nakamura has not seen the kind of rise. You could argue it's why Asuka hasn't seen the kind of rise that she should have seen, you know. So the question will then be, what kind of work will Stephanie do? Will Julia do? And sometimes that could be perhaps a manager working with them or whatever. I know Cindy's in the chat who says that she's going to says that Julia is going to be taking a course with Japan's best English tutor. I don't know how well that will work in this space, but we will find out. I'm sure that the WWE will have some resources available as well. And I'm sure that the WWE to a degree has already prepared for it. The other thing is, if English is not, you know, a language that you are commanding, what other ways will you connect with the fans? And I think that will be up to determination. The other thing that I have to mention is, because of where NXT is, you know, to me, I think Julia and Stephanie Vacour specifically will have what I like to call the Kevin Owens run in NXT, where they'll just be there for a hot cup of coffee, you know, maybe 2-3 months, long enough to figure out where the hard cam is and how WWE does things from a production perspective. And then they're going to find their way on Raw or SmackDown, because quite frankly, for as much as you're talking about a Julia and Stephanie Vacour Roxanne match, I think we'd rather see them battling Rhea Ripley and Bianca and, you know, Bailey and Io Sky. My God, Io Sky. Good Lord. So I think those are the matches that, you know, we'll be looking forward to seeing. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So there is that. All right. So today is a very interesting day for a lot of reasons. And I'll tell you specifically why, because you may not have known this, but it was on this day in 1996 where Kurt Angle won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Happened right here in the ATL. So congratulations on your gold medal anniversary, Kurt Angle. Of course, that would lead him to an incredible career in the WWE. But what a cool moment that is for Kurt Angle. And I guess it, you know, let me just throw this question out here since we're here. We have now several Olympians who have made their way into WWE, certainly before and after Kurt Angle. Do you think that Kurt Angle, well, no. Let me not ask it this way. Let me ask another way. Since we're in the Olympics, who would you say is the most successful Olympic crossover into pro wrestling?
Aside from Kurt Angle, I mean, Kurt Angle's definitely there, but I'm thinking also Mark Henry, maybe. Was Mark Henry Mark Henry was an Olympian as well.
He absolutely was.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I'm trying to think of some more.
Lesnar was not an Olympian, right? Just a collegiate wrestler.
He was just gonna. That was just gonna be my next question too. I was like, no.
I was gonna say maybe Iron Sheik.
What about Shelton Benjamin?
Yeah.
Well, Shelton was not an Olympian.
Well, no, he's not Olympian. He was not an Olympian.
Right.
Excuse me.
But the Iron Sheik that's a great call.
Wow.
Yeah, I think like she said, besides Mark Henry, maybe Iron Sheik. And then the next one you probably have is maybe Ronda Rousey. But I don't think they top Kurt Angle. I think just the GOAT of the Olympians that have come to the WWE.
Seriously, man. Seriously.
I'm gonna make an interesting argument to that, though. I'm gonna say Mark Henry over Kurt Angle. And I'll explain why. I think Kurt Angle certainly had a meteoric rise in pro wrestling. No doubt about it. You know, his first year winning the European Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the WWE Championship. You know, he did all of those things. The end of his first WWE run was not the greatest because of, you know, some of the issues that happened. But when it comes to, you know, he went over to TNA. Most people forget that his TNA tenure was longer than his WWE tenure. He definitely had some championship moments over there. When he came back to WWE, definitely lackluster. But what I will say is Kurt Angle's impact is primarily Kurt Angle. I think Mark Henry has had a much further reaching impact in pro wrestling. When you look at his career, which was a longer career than Kurt Angle's, by the way.
Yes.
Certainly he won a world championship. And some would say that his in-ring career may not have been as impressive, but I think he has left a greater stamp on the pro wrestling industry than a Kurt Angle has. I mean, from his discovery of Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Samantha Irvin, Braun Strowman. I mean, like the list of people this man has discovered, he has literally given us the next chapter of pro wrestling, which I think, you know, for what Kurt Angle has done, Kurt Angle had an incredible in-ring career. But I think if you're talking about Olympians who have impacted this sport,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mark Henry, who's continuing to impact as we speak, you know, whether it is his contributions on Busted Open, what he contributed to AEW for 2 years, you know, his work right now with indie promotions. I think Mark Henry, you know, you're talking 25 years, a man who has been a world champion in 3 sports, in multiple halls of fame. I got to give it to Mark Henry. And I know some people may think that's a crazy moment, but just think about it. The reason I'm giving it to Mark Henry over Kurt Angle is because Kurt Angle's accomplishments all benefited ultimately Kurt Angle. Mark Henry left the entire wrestling business better.
Yes. And he continues to lead it better.
Mm-hmm.
He also gave birth to a hand. Let's not forget that. He also gave birth to a hand. So there is that.
That's some work to spend that kind of time with Mae Young. So
yeah,
God bless. God bless. Hey.
And Kurt really just probably gave us Kenny Omega. That was about it. Like you said. No, because like he very much like credits Kurt Angle like for a lot of his style and what he did by watching him. But I think you have a valid point. Just longevity from Nation of Domination, the Sexual Chocolate era, even to World's Strongest Man. Like this man has stood the test of time a lot better. Like I don't think you can tell the story of wrestling without mentioning Mark Henry.
Absolutely.
And how can we even forget the salmon jacket?
I got a lot left in the tank.
He said it, not me. He got a lot left in the tank.
Here's another interesting point that I don't think many have realized is that he was the first to get a guaranteed contract in pro wrestling. You know, he signed a 10-year deal in 95, 96. You know, this predated what the NWO did and all of that other stuff. So it's a big moment for Mark Henry. And Yeah. So shout out to Mark Henry. Shout out to Kurt Angle on his anniversary of winning an Olympic gold medal. So I want to talk about this. This is really interesting. Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view happened this past Friday. And one of the matches that was on there that a lot of people have been talking about is this Texas death match between Diamante and legit Layla Hirsch, which Dave Meltzer, I almost had another name come to my mind, but Dave Meltzer went on to the Twitter machine and said that this was among the top 3 women's matches in the AEW universe ever. Now, I'm not sure if you guys saw this match. It was a very, very good match. I'm curious to get what might have been, if you have a top 3 of matches in the AEW Ring of Honor universe, certainly since AEW's inception in 2019, what would they be?
I mean,
I would really have to think about that. I mean, ever? We talking about we talking about
Like,
any match, not
in,
just
in all of AEW since it started.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we're including Ring of Honor in that AEW space.
I say Baker versus Thunder Rosa is up there in top 3.
I was gonna say
which one?
Don't do me like that.
Because there's the lights out match.
I think the lights. I want to give it that one. I want to say if I had to decide out of lights out was probably that one is their best one. That definitely is in top 3. What was that street fight that they had with what's that girl's name? I think TJ was her name.
Oh, with what's his name's wife?
Guevara.
It was a tag match. It involved I thought it involved Ruby Soho. Willow was a part of that. Because it was a tag match. It was a tag match that happened on Rampage. That street fight that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head which ones I remember and recall.
Okay.
Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter, 2022.
Okay.
Hayter had some bangers though. Like even Hayter
was up. Hayter's definitely up with me.
Yeah, Hayter versus Storm at like Full Gear. That was a fire match.
I was gonna say ones that I remember that I thought were really good was I think it was a street fight on Dynamite with like Daly's Place Dynamite with Swole and Britt Baker. I remember the original when Sheeta was champion against Nyla Rose. There was like 1 or 2 matches that really stand out to me.
Yeah,
that were really good.
I remember that.
Athena versus Willow, I think was another one that was good.
Yeah, on that Ring of Honor pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't know if it's top 3, but I definitely enjoy. I just enjoy watching Athena. So
yeah,
and Willow is great too. So seeing those 2 in the ring.
And then the best match in AEW women's history was going to be Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné in a couple weeks. But
do you think that's going to be better than Mariah May?
And Tony Storm bugging.
It's going to clear.
That's going to cook.
Clear it.
Honey,
clear
it.
Out of your mind.
He's not wrong.
And Willow and Statlander and Diamante and Mercedes. Yeah, that one. Was it Collision? I thought that one was Rampage, though. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. They all kind of go together.
You know that Britt Baker Monet match is going to be insane.
Thank you, Bobby. That was that match. Tay Mello
and what it was.
Jay against Penelope Ford and the Bunny. Yes, 2021.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I remember the Penelope girl now. Yeah, that was the one. So, I'm sorry, honey. That Britt Monet finna be something nasty.
It should be.
We'll see.
Here's what I like: the idea that we actually have 2 marquee women's matches potentially at All In that we all are vested in. That is a major win, I think, for AEW.
Of course.
Which
Can I make a
there's
prediction?
Go ahead.
I'm going to predict, and tell me what you guys think. I'm going to predict that the Britt Monet match is the longer match.
By how much? Like significantly longer or barely longer?
See, it's hard to say significantly because we know these matches are traditionally short. So I'll say at least by 2 to 3 minutes.
The only reason why I think it might not be is just because they're gonna let Mariah and Tony really tell this story. Like
yes,
Britt and Monet is just gonna be of who's the better wrestler. And it won't need a long time for you to display that. Like Tony and Mariah stuff has been building. There has to be like you got to give the whole show in this ring, the emotion, the tie-in, her assistant in there. I forget how they call them and stuff like that, but it's gonna be a straight pageantry in that match. So I think they will get the longer one this time.
I agree with all that, but I look at Britt and Monet as like who is the brand of AEW Women's Wrestling. That's how I view that match. Since Mercedes signing, that's like, who is the brand?
Yeah, but that's not the story they're telling, though.
That's
not the story they're telling at all. And I think in terms of the story, in terms of what they have built to, that Mariah May Tony Storm story isn't just like the best story in women's wrestling in AEW. It's one of AEW's best stories, period. And the work that they've put into that. Listen, the entrances alone at All In for those two, they're gonna be top tier. They're gonna be top tier.
Yeah.
I think obviously, Mercedes is gonna give us a great entrance because she does that in these large venues. But in terms of the story that's gonna be told, here's the thing: Mariah and Tony can do less, and by doing less, they'll accomplish more because the story's already there. So we'll see how it goes down on Dynamite. So this is an interesting quote that I think is sandwiched in here pretty perfectly. There's a recent article out surrounding this guy, CM Punk. And CM Punk reflected on some advice that he received from Eddie Guerrero. And this advice actually came while Eddie Guerrero was on the independent scene wrestling CM Punk. It's a simple piece of advice, but I want to get your thoughts on this. Shared this piece of advice at the Comic-Con in San Diego, where all of AEW cut the monkey, and, we had the whole official announcement of that match that you just spoke of between Mercedes and Britt Baker. And here's the advice that Eddie Guerrero gave to CM Punk. He said, moves don't mean anything. It is who is doing them and when they're doing them. That's what means something. What are your thoughts on Eddie Guerrero's advice to CM Punk?
Hold on, Professor, can you say that one more time because you went in and out? Can you get a quote?
Oh, did I? I'm sorry. By the way, I'm not a big fan of their food. Shout out to In-N-Out. Here's what they said, what Eddie Guerrero said to CM Punk. He said, moves don't mean anything. It's who's doing them and when they're doing them. That's what means something. That's Eddie Guerrero to CM Punk.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys. If I had to, you have to remember that this was a different time, a different era. And of course, Eddie Guerrero was around to give this advice to CM Punk. To an extent, I would say that he is obviously right. They would know better than me. I've never been in the ring before, but I think Eddie Guerrero is more so talking about like in the performance aspect and the crowd interaction, because we know how much he was beloved when he became champion and defeated Brock Lesnar and had all those great moments, Latino heat. I just hope that nobody takes these kinds of things out of context. Every wrestler has their own story, has their own way, and has their own thought process and how things are done. in WWE in performance and entertainment, sports entertainment alike. But yeah, I wouldn't take offense to these words or words out of context. These were words of advice from Eddie Guerrero to CM Punk. This was a moment that we didn't see. This was between them two, and for him to share something like that, it's pretty cool because you still even in 2024, Eddie Guerrero's reach goes beyond. And he was always that way as a performer. He was always the giving performer. We've seen in countless documentaries where people have talked about Eddie Guerrero and his work ethic and how much he wanted to be beloved by the fans and how much he wanted to do a good job every time. So, but yeah, I think this was just a moment for a CM Punk to share something and was, just giving us some words of wisdom that was passed on to him.
Your thoughts on that quote, Councilman?
I think it's a good quote, saying as how he can't do no moves anymore. So, I think that's a great quote that was said.
Oh my God. It's got really bright in here. What happened? Wait a minute. What I missed? Spencer, what we missed? He got a couple moves. He got some moves.
I just don't care for this person because I keep trying to figure out. You call yourself best in the world. What are you best in the world at?
Oh,
if it's talking crap, then fine. Because you know what CM Punk reminds me of? A guy at the bar, which is ironic that he don't drink. Everyone knows your name, and the only thing you're known for is picking fights, getting your butt kicked, and then want to scream out, "I have heart." Because what do? Are you gonna put those mediocre UFC skills to the test? No. Maybe you'll write a great Marvel comic. Oh wait, you couldn't do that when you got signed, and we now know you can't get that GTS go to sleep up past your chest. So I just don't understand why he's still here and just not doing what he does best and commentate. But maybe that's just me.
I am appalled. Oh, wow. You can hear a pin drop right now, man.
Well, I for one, I agree with the quote, and I think it speaks to the timing and how you plan a match out. A perfectly placed DDT or back suplex can do wonders with letting things breathe and different moments in a match. It's not so much the moves, but the character hitting those moves at the right time. Perfect example is when I see a Pop Rocks, I don't emote at all. I feel nothing. But when Zelina Vega does a code red, I get up out of my seat and I say, wow, that's a really good move. So it's just about who is performing the move that adds that extra luster to them, that adds an extra off. But that's
you wrong. You wrong. You leave Zelina out of this. Zelina got nothing to do with this. You leave Zelina out of this.
Because at least they have specials. Spinning your fist backwards and calling that a finisher. I mean, I guess if that's what you want to call a finisher, okay.
One's got a spinning back fist. One's got a spinning back fist, and the other's got a hip thrust.
That's about it. If I was going to spin and make myself dizzy, then I guess you could say, hey, yeah, it is all about the moves.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Wow.
I don't know why.
Everybody in the chat, I just want you guys to go back and compare the Pop Rocks versus Code Red and then report back to me.
We're not going to compare.
Just do those two things for me.
You stop it.
And let's compare someone else's
Punk. We're talking about CM Punk.
Let's compare someone else's back fist finishers too. Oh wait, no one else does that. No one else does that.
Better back fist than Asuka. You can quote that because
wait a minute
because one back fist knocked out Shayna Baszler and Asuka, I'm pretty sure was tapped out by Shayna Baszler. But I mean, I'm just going to the documents,
Wait a
going
minute.
back to the documents.
You are not saying that Lola Vice's spinning back fist is better than Asuka? You just said it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're lying.
The FTR match. I saw
Accusations.
These are not accusations. This is
False accusation.
And
Okay. Well, Dynamite tonight. We'll hear from Mercedes Moné. And we mentioned her name. We'll be hearing from a lot of people tonight. We'll also see the CMLL World Women's Championship Eliminator match. For those who don't know, that's a non-title match. Willow Nightingale will battle Chris Statlander. We'll hear from Bryan Danielson tonight. We'll also hear from Mariah May, who will have a sit-down interview with Renee Paquette. We're still a few weeks away from All In, so I'm interested to see the other things that will happen leading us to All In. This should be a great match right here. And Adam Page taking on Darby Allin. That should be a wild one for sure. More matches to talk about tonight as a trios match. The Conglomeration will be taking on the Beast Mortos, Roderick Strong, and Rouge. And then last but not least, Will Ospreay, Lance Archer, they resume their battles from New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's all happening tonight on AEW Dynamite. We still have about 4 weeks or so until All In. I'm really wondering what else will happen between now and then, since there's still a lot of time on the AEW calendar. But we'll be obviously paying a lot of attention to that. Of course, we'll be getting ready this weekend for SummerSlam, big weekend, and we'll do our predictions likely for that on Friday. But you'll probably want to reach out to a number of people on this panel after everything you've heard today. So let's start first with you, Councilman. How can the people find you?
You can find me at Will Pharaoh, PHARAOH, everywhere. If you like watching streams, I will be on stream tonight at 6 o'clock for TCW. It's TCW Wednesday Trail Championship Wrestling. So just come and watch me on there, and then we will explain just the reason why a spinning back fist makes absolutely no sense as a finisher before we start the show, and what other potential finishers Lola Vice may be able to do so that she can finally get a rematch against the greatest NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez.
Wow. All right. Said.
You can find me on Said Says at Twitter at CEDD_SAYS and on the gram at Said Is The Answer. Well, you likely will see, similar to Joe Indri, I will also have the keys to WWE Performance Center at some point this calendar year, where I will be able to showcase to you guys that I too can hit a Pop Rocks within one calendar day. That's how simplistic that move is. But you will also see me Friday for SummerSlam predictions on this lovely podcast here at 3 p.m. Pacific, where we will also talk about what will happen in the future of WWE on programming. But that's all I got. That's all.
Hey, Cedric. I bastard the spinning back fist in 13 seconds.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That.
Oh my goodness.
I'm weak. I'm so weak.
Honey. Oh my lord. Oh my lord.
What a show! This was great. Today was great. I honestly needed this laugh. I'm so glad. Oh goodness! In a chair too, Councilman. In a chair.
In a chair. In a chair. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god! But okay. In all seriousness, you could find me here Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays with the WWT live crew. I guess I'll be here for some SummerSlam predictions. I'm down for that. Whoa. We're gonna have to get into another debate. I smell another debate coming soon, guys. I don't know about you guys, but I smell a debate in the future.
I'm gonna have to look up and see who's in this Divas division, because are we disrespecting Trish?
For the podcasters who are listening, Cindy made a comment and said Asuka makes Lola Vice look like she belongs in the 2009 Divas division.
Ooh.
Damn it!
Wow.
Now I gotta look at the roster.
Wow. Okay.
Ooh, shots fired.
Listen, this is why you guys can't leave early, because this doesn't stop until it ends. I mean, wow. You were saying, honey. Wow.
I was just saying, they ain't nothing like a Pop Rocks party because a Pop Rocks party don't stop. You could find me here Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays with the WWT Live crew as always. Don't forget to check out my Honey Pop predictions. You might find me sometimes hanging in Pop Rock City. You might find me mostly on neutral grounds at the Wyatt 6 City because I'm more likely to be hanging out there. And don't forget to follow the socials: Wrestling with Honey TikTok, Wrestling with Honey Instagram, Facebook Wrestling W Honey, and the YouTube Wrestling with Honey podcast.
I see that comment question. I'm on her
this
ass.
is-
We're not
whoa.
disrespecting Beth Phoenix,
Whoa.
Gail Kim,
Cindy
Natalia.
just said,
You've got
maybe Royal Vice was Eva Marie's dropped gimmick. My goodness.
Oh,
Whoa.
unhinged. Cindio's coming
Whoa.
for the jugular, y'all.
you got the right one. You got
Gee.
wrestler get his
Gee.
bags off, but you got the right one, Cindy.
The girl shooting 50 caliber bullets. Oh my God.
Whoa.
We're gonna need a new debate soon. I just feel it. I feel a future debate show.
Wow. So yeah, you can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. Yeah, my commentary work, all the things. Just follow me at Bonnerfied. You'll figure it out. I'm shell shocked right now. Follow Women's Wrestling Talk at WWTalkPod. I want to thank everybody for joining us, especially you, Cindy.
Hey, you shouldn't have never brought up us. You shouldn't have never.
Oh my God!
You did this.
You did this.
You should have never
this
brought
was your
up.
fault.
Oh,
It's on you.
wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow.
This
This
was fun.
This has been amazing, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of Women's Wrestling Talk has been brought to you by All Caribbean Wrestling. Catch the wave. Go to allcaribbeanwrestling.com to check out all the latest pay-per-views or go on the YouTube page at All Caribbean Wrestling. Also, go and check out their socials on Instagram at All Caribbean Wrestling and on X at All Caribbean WR1.
Hey, yo, you. Yeah, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen not knowing what you want to do like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to www.talkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit. Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WWTalkPod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms. Like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk. The number one.